We've got Coach Manny Diaz of the Miami joining us for a few minutes. Thanks, Coach, for making some time.
Yeah, Sam. Number one, we're delighted to have the invite to the Cheez-It Bowl. Going back to Orlando, as everyone knows, has been a challenging season for everybody in college football. But to get our guys the reward of, in my mind, going to one of the best bowl destinations of anywhere in the country, and then to be in a great matchup against a team like Oklahoma State, and just what they've always done. Mike Gundy's built a terrific program there in Stillwater. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I think it's gonna be a great matchup for everybody in the country to watch.
So we'll get to a couple media questions now. For media on the call, if you'd like to ask a question, we ask you to use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and we will call on you. We'll ask you to unmute your camera, and then or unmute your microphone anyway. We won't turn your camera on, and then we just ask you to identify yourself again before you ask. The first question up is from Robert Allen. So Robert, if you will unmute you here in a second, and you ask away.
Yeah, Coach Diaz, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, Robert Allen with the Oklahoma State Cowboy Radio Network. Obviously, your familiarity with Oklahoma State comes during your time in Austin with Texas, and I've already checked back. You were 2-1 those 3 seasons against Oklahoma State. What do you remember from the matchups with the Cowboys when you were with Texas?
Well, really, what was going on in the Big 12 almost a decade ago, as crazy as that sounds, is almost what's now taken over all of college football. You know, I think coaches like Coach Gundy were on the cutting edge of the spread offenses, the RPO game, certainly all of that, and making life very difficult on defenses. And I think that's now such a part of college football that we almost forget, how it all started. So, great matchups, great skill guys. It seems like Oklahoma State's always got a wide receiver who's all Big 12. This year's no different. And so, obviously it'll be a great challenge for us.
One quick follow-up. You mentioned the hardships in dealing with COVID-19 during this college football season. Oklahoma State announced just before their Baylor game that they did not lose a single starter this year at any point to COVID-19. From a distance, it would seem that Miami handled it pretty well. It seemed like your team got through fairly smoothly.
Robert, we were on a good run, and then it got us in November, to the point where we had to we were shut down for 2 weeks,
Okay.
And it just shows how relentless the virus is, and our medical people we thought put in great protocols, and yet this thing can still slip through the cracks. So hopefully we'll have everybody healthy. I hope both teams can stay healthy so we can have a great game. But again, we are still, we still are testing and hoping every time with our fingers crossed that the results come back negative.
Coach, thank you.
A couple more notes on Miami's Cheez-It Bowl history. This is their 6th appearance in the game. That is the most all-time for any one program. This is the 31st year of the game, dating back to 1990. Miami's also tied for the all-time lead in Cheez-It Bowl wins with 3. They're 3-2. They most recently played in 2016 against West Virginia and won that game 31-14. Coach, our next question is going to come from Ileana Limon Romero from the Orlando Sentinel. Ileana, if you can hop on, or I see Matt Michelle's face. It's somebody from the Orlando Sentinel.
Yeah, hi, Coach. It's Matt Michelle. I wanted to ask, how big was it of an opportunity for you guys to stay in the state of Florida when it came for this bowl game, considering with everything you mentioned with COVID going on? How was it able to be close by here in the state of Florida?
Matt, that's huge. The fact that we can drive to Orlando, which is what we will do. And then the fact that it is a game that will allow fans, about 20% capacity. So our players' families will have another chance to watch them play, which I think is very important. Because it's difficult, you see teams, struggle to keep it together for a bowl game. So our guys were excited to play, and I know playing in our home state is always a big deal. And then there'll be some, Central Florida. Obviously, it's been tough to come watch anybody play this year, and I know we've got, a lot of alumni and a lot of fans in the Central Florida area that'll have a chance to get a ticket, come over to the game, and watch us play in Orlando. So, so it means a great deal to us to be back in Central Florida.
We've got a next question from Tom D'Angelo of the Palm Beach Post. Tom, you can go ahead when you're ready. Tom, we'll need you to unmute your mic and go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Hey, Manny. You touched on this, and we've seen a lot of teams on their own just decide for whatever reason that they just did not want to move on, go on and play. Is part of this decision that, number one, I'm assuming you spoke to your players and they want to go, they want to play another game, but also, like you said, a reward because we know what you guys have been through.
Yeah, I mean, our guys, our guys want to finish the season. They want to finish for each other. It's been a long haul, it has, and but we have a chance to end it on a podium, which is what you get in a bowl game, and so here we go, and it's going to happen to us fast. I mean, today's already Sunday. We're talking about 9 days, in an hour until kickoff. So it'll be here before we know it. And like I said, we got to get ourselves prepared to have a great week of practice because I think actually 1 week from today is when we go up to Orlando. So it's all going to happen fast.
Can I just ask what your schedule will be when we get on the field? What day will be, Sunday and Monday?
Yeah, we'll start back to work tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our guys will lift to be mainly a game prepping day for our staff, but we'll do a quick practice tomorrow evening. Have 2 good days on Tuesday and Wednesday. Certainly, you've got Christmas Eve and Christmas. In the middle week, Christmas, as it works in a game week, is actually a Tuesday practice. And again, here we are again, very similar to Thanksgiving, where you're talking about Christmas, you've got the same type of issues we had during Thanksgiving. Being around family, this is not a college football issue. This is a coronavirus issue all across our country. How much exposure to people can you put yourself through on the holidays? It's a very, very complex topic with no easy answer, and our guys will have to navigate that as they have navigated everything else this year.
Some of your kids will be able to be with family on Christmas, the ones that are close by.
Certainly, if you're in the area, that opportunity will be there. But again, they've got to make, they and their family have got to make the right decisions to protect not just them, but to protect our entire football program.
Thank you.
Coach, we've got another question from Matt Rochelle at the Sentinel. Matt, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, when you look at this matchup with Oklahoma State, what would it mean for your program to get a win over a top 25 team to kind of finish things off, as you mentioned, on a podium?
It's a big deal for us. Miami, this is the site of our last bowl victory, as Sam mentioned at the beginning, back in 2016. And that was the only bowl victory for a decade prior to that. So, we've been trying to build the program step by step. And the part of doing that is you kind of try to accomplish things that have been hard to accomplish here over the past few years. And winning a bowl game is right in that category. And then to beat a team with the quality that Oklahoma State has, will mean a lot as well.
Got another question from Tom D'Angelo. Tom, you can go ahead when you're ready.
No, I'm good. Sorry, I didn't lower my hand.
No problem. If you want to ask a question, remember you can raise your hand and ask, or raise your hand, request to ask a question, and we'll unmute you. Just had a question come in from Jason Elmquist. Jason, if you unmute your mic, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Jason Elmquist of the Stillwater News Press. News came out a couple days ago that Jalen Phillips obviously is opting out and going pro. What do you have along the defensive line to maybe kind of make up those 8 sacks that he had this season?
Well, obviously a guy like Jalen is not going to be easy to replace, right? But you do recruit, you do develop. There are players that do have the ability to step in and make some things happen, whether that's a Jafari Harvey or a Cam Williams, and that's just, look, that's part of what bowl games are right now. It gives it the opportunity for a next man up type situation, and I think those guys will be excited for the challenge.
And then obviously with King, your quarterback, a dual threat type of guy, that's something Oklahoma State's defense has traditionally had struggled with. How much do you try to utilize his feet in a game like this against an Oklahoma State defense that has been pretty good against the pass so far this year?
No, they've been impressive this year defensively, but most defenses struggle with dual threat quarterbacks. So there's a reason why those guys are a problem, and Derek's given a lot of people a problem. But but again, it comes back to balance. You know, you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to complete the passes that are there, because Oklahoma State does like the challenge and get in your face in their pass defense. So, I think our offense will have to play well to be able to move the ball on Oklahoma State.
Thanks, Coach.
Got another question from Robert Allen from the Oklahoma State Radio. Robert, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Coach, did you guys do any study the last week or so with perspective? Because this was a prospective matchup. Have you looked at it a little bit?
Our graduate assistant and quality control coaches were already starting to do some breakdowns. There were a couple different teams in the Big 12 conference that I had watched last week, but not anything in the real depth that will begin, really starting tonight. So yeah, I mean, just some surface level stuff, but we'll really get into the game planning here the next 24 hours.
The other thing too, Coach, both teams seem to be pretty good on third downs defensively, and both teams by the end of the season had their head above water in the turnover margin. Talk about that aspect of it, because those are two keys in a bowl game.
Of course, turnovers are massive in bowl games. Our offense has done a great job of protecting the football all year. You always do worry when you have a little bit of a layoff, of ball security being an issue. We dealt with that. We had a 3-week layoff between games. Our schedule's kind of weird, we're playing into mid-December, so this doesn't quite have the normal break that you'd have with a normal bowl game, but still, conditioning level is going to matter. Sort of tackling is going to matter. Turnovers and special teams. I mean, that's I've mentioned that before, but I think those things really are telling in bowl games.
Thanks.
Got time for a couple more before we let Coach go. Our next one's from Susan Degnan from the Miami Herald. And Susan, you can unmute and go ahead when you're ready. Susan, you can go ahead and unmute when you're ready.
All right, is that better?
Gotcha now.
You got it? Okay, I thought I did it. Anyway, Manny, you were talking about activities last week that you wanted the guys to get close again and do things together, and I saw something that you had done together. How's that going? And do you feel they're, after last game, how have they rebounded? Do you feel they're invested or engaged with this game, or is it just impossible to tell until game day?
Well, we'll know more too tomorrow when we really get back to a practice, but I think our guys are upset. I think we have a team that's obviously has a bad taste in their mouth from the way that we finished, and they do not think that's representative of who they were the rest of the year. So we did try to mentally sort of reboot the system this past week. There's no telling. I still think it was a positive no matter what. Anytime you can be in service to others, like we did last week feeding Miami, I think that's a big deal. But we got to get back to work, and we need a great week of practice to prepare to win this football game, because it is not going to be easy.
And Manny, the follow was has anybody else other than Jalen opted out of this game? Are we going to find out?
It's 2020, right? I mean, there's always a potential now that we know the destination. So sounds like a lot of them do want to play in it. But like I said, Susan, we'll all kind of find out here together. I suspect in the next 24 hours, hopefully we'll know exactly, who all is in. As far as De'Eric goes in particular, do you know anything about him if he's playing? In this game?
Yeah, De'Eric King.
Yeah, I suspect De'Eric will be playing in this game.
Great, thank you.
Coach, we don't have any more hands up, so we'll let you go with that. But we appreciate you making a few minutes this afternoon for us, and thank you. And we'll see you down here in Orlando real soon.
Can't wait, Sam. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Coach. And we will have Coach Gundy logging on here momentarily.